everyone. My name is Julie, and I am one of the marketing coordinators with BCIT School of Health Sciences. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this information session for the Medical Radiography program. First off, I want to say how happy we are to see you all, and thank you for attending the presentation today. Second, you may post your questions or comments into the chat during the presentation. We will address as many questions as we can near the end of the presentation in the Q&A segment. Before we get started, the British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of the Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam. We ask that all participants reflect and acknowledge and honor in their own way the First Nation land on which they live, work, and play. Now I'd like to introduce you to Denise Polzer, Program Head.
Hi, everybody. Julie, just checking with you. Sorry, are you going to run the video next, or?
Yes, I'm going to play a video for everyone. Just one moment.
What I love about medical radiation is the variety. It is different every day, and that's what makes it so exciting.
And we'll go from there, okay? All right.
As a medical radiation technologist, we use general X-ray machines. We use a fluoroscopy unit, CT, and mammography. The most rewarding thing about this job is when patients tell you how much they appreciate what you've done. That's why I love my job.
Okay, so if we're going to do in the medical radiography program at BCIT is a 2-year diploma program. You do a term of academics where we teach you the theory of the positioning and the anatomy, we teach you the physics and the equipment, and then the next term you go out to clinical and practice everything that we've taught you. The students practice on equipment at BCIT that they will be able to find at most clinical sites. And the integration of VR is completely unique to BCIT. It helps the students learn the orientation of the anatomy and how it relates to the type of positions that we try and put our patients into. Once our students graduate from our program, they are fully prepared to write the National Certification Exam, the CAMRT, which allows them to work across Canada. The reason I love this profession is because of the changing technology and the time that I am able to spend with patients one-on-one, communicating with them and getting to know them. This is a really rewarding profession.
Thank you, Julie, and thank you for joining us this evening. So we're going to be talking about the medical radiography program, and I'm just going to start by actually telling you what a medical radiographer does. So a medical radiologic technologist, I can't even really say it, but it's an MRT for short, uses highly technical equipment that produces ionizing radiation to create images of bones and organ systems. The images are then interpreted by a radiologist to provide a diagnosis and recommendation for treatments if they are required. Over the last 10 to 15 years, technology has improved so drastically that we are able to produce really high quality images while minimizing radiation exposures to the patient. The technologist must not only have technical skills and be empathetic, but also have human skills or soft skills. Strong communication and people skills allow us to work closely with our patient and their caregivers to ensure their safety and comfort during our procedures. We communicate with the patients all throughout the exam so that they know what to expect and what is required of them during the case. To help reduce the patient's anxiety, we are expected to answer any questions or address any concerns in a manner that is easy for someone with a non-medical background to understand. During the exams, we are constantly on the go, either adapting the equipment or adapting the patient's position. And our program usually uses a variety of educational delivery methods to introduce students to the technical skills while helping them develop the human skills. So in the training, we train you in different areas of the, which are basically based on the equipment that we use. And so even though most of this equipment or all of this equipment produces ionizing radiation, they're all just a little bit different. The most common is general radiography, and that's where our students will spend most of their clinical time when they're out doing this practice. The images tend to be two-dimensional and are the best and fastest way of looking at bones and bony body systems. The images are static and represent a moment in time. Currently, all images are electronic and viewed on the computer screens. Computed radiography, or CR, uses an imaging plate that has to be passed through a CR reader to actually produce the images. There's also digital radiography, or DR, which actually uses a digital detector and allows us to view the image within a few short seconds of exposure. And we don't actually have to touch the detector at all. So both involve utilizing the data collected on the imaging plate or the detector, and the computer actually creates the electronic image for review. The next area is computed tomography. So this uses X-ray tube and detectors, but they're housed inside what looks like a very large donut. The housing allows the detectors to spin around the patient as the patient moves through the donut, and it produces spiraling slices of the patient's anatomy. The resulting images appear as a series of slices, again, for the radiologist to report. This data can then be reformatted to produce three-dimensional images of specific body parts, and those can be viewed from all angles. And I do have an image to show you shortly of what that looks like. CT allows us to look at soft tissue, organs, and bones with a three-dimensional perspective. The next piece of equipment is fluoroscopy, so then that's the next area. It's dynamic imaging and is comparable to a video, where general radiography and CT look at an area of anatomy as a static image, so a moment in time. Fluoroscopy allows us to look at the function of an organ or the movement of a device over time. The X-ray beam is produced over a longer period of time, and the video is created and then electronically stored. Some of the most common exams include using a contrast or a liquid that has a different density than the organ system that's being looked at. For example, we do cases that are called barium swallows. And so we have patients drink a white, thick liquid, doesn't taste very good, but the radiologist will ask the patient to drink this stuff, and this we can actually watch them swallow, so we can see their esophagus and see the inside of their stomach. Other procedures include a radiologist advancing a needle into a joint, so that we can do something called an arthrogram, where we can again put a contrast agent inside the joint itself and actually see the inside. The next area would be interventional radiography. So this is a subspecialty of radiology. It uses fluoroscopy or CT in highly specialized procedures that help treat diseases. These procedures are minimally invasive, using the imaging equipment to provide guidance, whether the radiologist is placing a medical device, such as, say, a filter or a coil or a stent inside of a blood vessel, or a catheter into a cyst or a diseased organ. They can also be used to take biopsies. So this is a growing field, and many of these procedures are now replacing more invasive surgeries, which helps decrease wait times and decrease recovery time for patients. The next area is mobile imaging. So in this case, we're using mobile equipment to produce general X-rays and fluoroscopy or fluoroscopy if a patient can't come to the department. So it uses the same principles I've described above, except the equipment can be taken to the patient whenever the patient or wherever the patient is located, for instance, on the ward or in a trauma room in the emergency department. Other procedures that are done in, say, the operating room require imaging as well. So whether a surgeon is inserting a pacemaker or removing a gallbladder, or if an orthopedic surgeon requires imaging to realign a broken bone and secure the fracture with plates and screws, we would be in the OR with the surgeons. So if you've ever watched a movie or a TV show that shows a morgue or a pathologist is performing an autopsy, there is usually X-ray images up on view boxes, specifically, especially if The cause of death is not known. View boxes aren't seen very often anymore because that's quite old technology. But yes, we do then go to the morgue as well to do imaging there. Actually, when I was a student, we had a team of technologists that transported a mobile X-ray unit to the aquarium to take a picture or image of the jawbone of an orca. So again, we do go everywhere. The last area that I'm going to speak about is mammography, and you saw a little bit of that on the video. It uses specialized imaging equipment to compress breast tissue and uses a specific range of X-ray beam to image the breast tissue in fine detail. Okay, so this is the three-dimensional imaging that I was talking about. So this is 3D rendering of facial bones, so the face, taken from a CT scan. So the image is produced from a series of imaging slices that were taken of a patient while in the scanner. In this image, it's easy to identify that the patient actually has a fracture on their jaw, on the corner of their jaw, on left side of the screen, but it's actually the right side of their jaw. But what's more subtle is the fact that they actually have a second fracture that's coming down in between the lower front teeth, right in the middle there. So if surgery is required, a plastic surgeon can use this information to plan the surgical procedures to realign the bone fragments and secure them with plates, screws, or wires. So regarding the program itself, so the program starts in January and runs for 6 consecutive terms. So it's 24 continuous months. For the first year, we alternate between academic and clinical terms. The academic terms are face-to-face and on campus. We combine theory and simulation in our positioning and patient care labs. Students use simulation to practice positioning on one another, and then use mannequins and phantoms for exposures to produce images for review. Students practicing using the equipment in positioning and imaging science labs to get a better understanding of the physics behind the X-ray production and how the equipment works. We also use quite a bit of immersive VR in several of the courses to support student learning. Our program uses one of a kind virtual reality experiences for students called Be the Beam. So the students use VR headsets and controllers to move the X-ray equipment around, and they can actually stick their head inside the X-ray tube to actually see how an X-ray beam is produced. We also use immersive VR to provide students with the opportunity to position an avatar, align the equipment, and then produce an image for review. So once they get their resulting image, they can actually send that to the instructor for review. We also use it during our anatomy labs, especially when studying the cranium, and you saw a little bit of that on the video as well. Other simulation software that we use, Shaderware, Scalytics, and Complete Anatomy, are available for students to access from home for further simulation practice and to complete some coursework. In the anatomy and image analysis labs, we have physical bones, so available for students to handle while they are progressing through their course content on the Learning Hub, and the Learning Hub is our learning platform. Our course instructor leads the students through the course content and ensures that they actually make a correlation between the actual physical bone and the X-ray image that they're seeing. During the first year, the 2 face-to-face academic terms are separated by a short summer clinical term, which is 13 weeks long. During the second year, students are in clinical for all 3 terms. The winter and fall terms are in general radiography, and the summer term is a specific CT rotation. In the clinical environment, our students work with a clinical instructor and certified technologists who support their hands-on experience in a safe manner. During each clinical term, students are provided with academic time to complete applicable online theory courses. So just a little bit more about the clinical practicums. More than 50% of the program is spent in the clinical environment, so that's a lot of safe hands-on experience. Each of our clinical sites has a clinical instructor who is there to manage the student's placement. A CI is a certified technologist who is a hospital employee, so that means that they're very familiar with the site's equipment and their protocols, but they also work very closely with the BCIT clinical instructor or clinical coordinator to help them guide the students, or help both of them guide the students in meeting the program requirements for each clinical term. Their duties include scheduling, one-on-one casework, image review, and evaluations and assessments. Our program clinical coordinators visit students throughout the term to ensure they are progressing accordingly. As the students gain experience in the clinical setting, they move from direct supervision to indirect supervision. So when students first enter the clinical environment, the CI and technologists work very closely with them to ensure correct positioning and correct use of the equipment. As the students gain, excuse me, as the students gain experience and competence and demonstrate competence, the CIs and technologists will distance themselves and actually supervise, usually from the doorway versus being right beside them. Throughout the clinical time, students will be expected to experience all of the shifts that a certified technologist is expected to work in the hospital environment. This includes days, afternoons, weekends, and midnights. As mentioned previously, clinical terms include protected academic time for students to complete online courses, averaging half a day per course. So we have up to 16 clinical sites that we use in the Lower Mainland and in the interior Kootenay regions. So the number of seats available out of those sites doesn't change, so they're set at a maximum, so that we usually have a good spread of students attending all sites. Each student will experience a minimum of 2 different clinical sites, and depending on where their CT location might be, there might be a 3rd clinical site as well. So some fun facts about the program. So, and the profession, we are a 24/7 profession. A majority of our clinical partners have emergency departments that are opened all day, every day. So for the most part, this means that an X-ray technologist will be on shift at all times. For the smaller rural sites, this could mean that somebody is not actually physically on site, but is on call. So they're carrying a pager, old school, just in case they're called in for an emergency. As I mentioned before, we do both diagnostic and interventional exams. So even once a patient is diagnosed, our job doesn't end there, but we can also be part of their treatment as well. We work very closely with our patients. Our communication skills are very important. We work in both hospitals and private clinics. And in the case of screening mammography, there's actually a mobile screening mammography unit. So it's like a big, I'm going to say van, that actually will travel to rural sites where they may not actually have access to the service. So we actually bring the service to them. And then leading us to our last fact that because of the mobile equipment, yes, indeed, we do go everywhere, almost everywhere. Our graduates, where do our graduates go after they graduate? So most of them work as technologists, but as they gain experience and build seniority, there are many leadership opportunities that become available within the imaging department. There's shift supervisor roles. So they would be then managing workflow and other technologists within the imaging department on specific shifts. Department supervisors or managers, which would involve managing the entire radiology department, so not just a group of technologists on a shift. And then site supervisors or managers would be the next step, and they would actually manage multiple diagnostic departments. For instance, the hospital that I worked at had an MRI, a CT scanner, general radiography, and a sonography department. So we would actually have a site supervisor that would manage all 4 of those. The next step would be outside of the the next step might be outside of the individual imaging departments. So we have imaging directors that still work within the health authorities, but instead of just managing one site, they would actually manage multiple diagnostic sites. Depending on your interests, and other opportunities could include informatics. So if you're interested in data analysis and educating and training system end users, that might be something that you could go into. Clinical instructor. So if you're interested in teaching students in the clinical environment, you could take on that role as well. Actually, that's where I was before I actually came to BCIT. Or you could actually be an instructor in a post-secondary level, such as BCIT in one of our programs. You can also become a product specialist for equipment vendors. So we've had multiple grads that have gone to work for Siemens and for Kodak to work with sales for their equipment, and to then do post-sale work with the hospitals and with the schools in using the equipment. We are nationally certified so that we can work almost anywhere in Canada. Once certified in Canada, technologists have access to the American Registered Radiologic Technologist Certification Exam, or ARRT for short, and provides them with the ability to work anywhere in the US. Some of the states do have actually state exams as well, so we might have to go a step further. And the other opportunities that are available would be to ladder into other diagnostic areas such as sonography or MRI. So we're just going to talk a little bit about the admissions and admission process. So again, this is a diploma. We do have one intake a year, which starts in January. The department will select applicants after the deadline dates. There are still seats available for the January 2024 intake. The application window doesn't close till the 30th of June, so there's still time. Qualities to be successful in the program and in the profession: strong communication skills, so ability to work independently and in a team. We do work with a lot of the other diagnostic teams and with the nursing teams and physician teams, so it's really important to actually be able to communicate well and work with others. Excellent physical, mental health, and time stress management skills, especially in the environment currently, post-COVID, where there are a lot of jobs that haven't been filled. And so, good profession to go into right now because there are a lot of jobs. Strong decision-making and problem-solving skills, computer literacy, 3D visualization, manual dexterity, hand-eye coordination skills. So application steps, I'm just going to kind of follow this through. So filling out the online application is relatively straightforward. Once application window opens for each cycle, you can log in and review the online application. You can work on filling out the application at your own pace. It does not go to admissions until you actually pay the application fee. The date you apply, it does not have an impact on your application. You have until the application deadline to actually submit your application. Regarding the application process, you will firstly review all the entrance requirements and the application processing dates. You will then upgrade if necessary. BCIT does offer upgrading courses in many subjects. Program advising can assist you with that. Ensure that when you apply online that you have all of your required documents, such as transcripts, ready to scan and upload as PDF files. www.bcit.ca/admissions will guide you through the step-by-step application process. Once you are ready to apply online, you can visit the website, and the application fee for domestic students is $90. The application process takes place entirely online. Therefore, you will need to convert all your official transcripts and any additional documents that you may have or might be required into PDF files. So the program requirements, proficiency in speaking and listening. So 2 years of full-time education in English and English speaking equivalent test and course. English 12 studies, 73% or equivalent. Pre-Cal 12, again, same, 73% or an equivalent. Physics 12, 73%. Casper testing. If you have a difficulty registering for the Casper testing, please make sure that you're contacting the program. The email address is on the webpage. And there's also a mandatory applicant questionnaire. So transcripts and documents, as mentioned, as part of the online application, you will need to upload documents for a timely assessment to be completed. You can download official digital transcripts, or you can convert your transcripts or documents to PDF files. Information on how to convert documents to files is available on our website. For example, you can scan or take a picture of your official transcripts and then save them as PDF files. Please ensure you upload all the required documents to minimize delays in application processing. Admission process. So the admissions review applications to ensure requirements have been met. Admissions then forwards the complete applications to the department for review. After the application deadline date, department shortlists or selects applicants. Admissions then sends an acceptance letter, and then you're expected to pay the commitment fees. And the commitment fee, I think, is $500. And if I'm wrong, I think Maggie can correct me. Laddering opportunities. So opportunities available at BCIT and other post-secondary institutions include magnetic resonance imaging advanced certificates. So once you actually graduate from our program and pass the certification exam, you can then apply into the MRI Advanced Certificate Program. It is a series, I think, of 6 online courses and then one course, which is actually a clinical course at the end. So you can actually be duly certified. Bachelor of Health Sciences through Thompson Rivers University. Health Leadership Advanced Certificate. So if you're really interested in leadership, this is a good opportunity and a good certificate to have under your belt. And then a Bachelor of Technology in Technology Management at BCIT. And then one other thing that I should have mentioned when I was talking about MRI is that you can actually go for just the advanced certificate, or you can continue on into the Bachelor of Health Sciences. So you would end up with a degree as well.
Hi everyone, I'm back. Just clear my pages here. Now, moving from the academics, I would like to let you know that BCIT is committed to supporting students in a holistic sense. We want you to succeed not only in your academics, but also outside of school. Some of the student services are available to you as a prospective student, and others will be available to you once you become an enrolled student. Here are some of the important student supports I'd like to mention. If you are Indigenous, BCIT's Indigenous Initiatives Department is there for you to ensure a smooth transition into your first year. They offer peer-to-peer mentorship, a welcoming gathering place, and provide clarification on Indigenous funding. BCIT's awards, scholarships, and bursaries are listed on our financial aid and awards webpage. I would like to mention that we have a President's Entrance Award. Selection is based on academic achievement, but also volunteer and community service. Please contact financial aid directly for more information. BCIT is committed to providing assistance to students with permanent or temporary disabilities. If you have been accepted to a program and believe you may need accommodation to be successful, I encourage you to connect with our Accessibility Services Department. BCIT Student Health Services is a health clinic located at the Burnaby campus. They provide medical care for current BCIT students year-round. We also have a counseling and student development department available to help you enhance your educational performance and maximize your success as a student. Our recreation services promotes, encourages, and enables the practice of physical well-being. We have an open gym space, we have a workout room, we have a steam room, a sauna, an outside track, and we consider recreation to be an integral part of campus life and welcome all students to enjoy their services. Now, here's our social media. You can follow us on Facebook, if you guys use that still, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. We are also starting up a TikTok, so if you are on TikTok, find us there as well. If you want to come to a tour and visit the campus or see MedRad specifically and spend a day, come to a future info session, these are all the links. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact Program Advising. They are able to answer questions regarding entrance requirements, the application process, student resources, success strategies, program schedules, and many other details as well. They are available to assist you on specific days via telephone, email, or by in-person or virtual appointments. Please go to their webpage, bcit.ca/advising, for their most up-to-date contact information and service hours. If your inquiry is time-sensitive, please call them during their telephone advising hours. This is the best option to get your questions answered quickly. Now I'd like to open it up to the Q&A portion of this event, and everyone will receive the slide deck and a recording within a week. So feel free to just ask the group questions that you would like to bring forward now, and all of the links and all of the details will be forwarded to your email. Maggie, is there any questions in the chat that you haven't answered yet?
No, and Denise just responded to that ultrasound question. So yeah, it's not ultrasound is not part of any part of the medical radiography program. So yeah, it's a separate program.
In the past, sorry, I'm just going to interject there, Maggie.
Sure.
In the past, there has been opportunities where there is something similar to like an MRI advanced certificate for sonography. It really depends on what the conditions are out in industry. So we take cues from our industry partners. And so if there was a need, there is always the possibility of having X-ray technologists upskilled into the sonography programs. A lot of the first year courses are very similar. The physics is different.
Yeah, and so someone just asked about the MRI, the advanced certificate, Denise, just about that program, but I was just mentioning that there's, I linked the entrance requirements here. So as Denise mentioned, you can get into the advanced certificate MRI if you have a diploma or degree in medical radiography, nuclear medicine, DMS, or radiation therapy. So you just want to check out that link that I put in the chat there, and you can find a little bit more information about that.
There is a great need for there is a great need for MRI techs as well.
Yeah.
And that's part of the I'm going to say problem, it's not so much a problem, but when a general X-ray technologist upskills and goes through the certification process for MRI, that kind of leaves a hole in the general X-ray department. So, whereas MRI is feeling the need because they are opening multiple MRI scanners all over the province, that also then, when we fill those holes, it leaves another hole in the general radiography departments as well. And CT scan, even though there's not a separate certification for it as there is for MRI, it's the same instance where you would do most of your training in Gen Rad, and then you do some training in CT. But once you graduate, they tend to pull from the general radiography department into the CT positions, again, leaving holes in the general radiography program or departments.
We have a question. I just completed my first year Bachelor's of Science at UFB. Can I transfer my credits?
I'm assuming that this person is asking about credits towards courses in the MedRad program. If that is the case, then no, you wouldn't. They wouldn't do that. But there are the entrance requirement courses that Denise was talking about at the beginning of the program. So I'm not sure if you've had a look at that yet, but there's English, pre-calculus, biology, physics are the academic entrance requirements. So potentially if you've done some post-secondary level equivalents, there could potentially be an opportunity to have those courses fulfill the entrance requirements based on your university rather than just high school courses.
Thank you, Maggie. I have a question that came in through the direct message before we get to the next one. It reads, can you also get certified in MRI after completing the program?
Yes. Yeah. There's two pathways into MRI. MRI now has a 2-year standalone program, very similar to our program. But you actually have to be a certified X-ray technologist in order to take the advanced certificate program.
And actually, sorry, Julie, I just had another question come through for direct message, Denise, asking if we've had previous students graduating from the MedRad program that have ended up working successfully in the United States?
Yes, I've had several students that have graduated and gone on to write their ART and have moved down to the States and found positions very easily. Our programs are up here in BC are very strong, and so our graduates tend to do very well in the US.
We have one from Elisa. Is there an opportunity for older applicants that have a university degree? My degree is quite old at this point.
I'm going to say yes. I actually graduated from the program over 30 years ago, but I was 28 at the time. And I actually had a BSc in kinesiology. So I had graduated with the kines degree, had taken a couple years out and then come back and actually done very well in the program. Number one, you have a great set of study skills that you pick up in university. You have to ramp those up when you come to BCIT just for the volume of coursework. But it gives you a different perspective as well. Yes. So yes, you can do very well.
Thanks, Denise. We have a clarifying question from the last one. asking, so you would need to take the advanced certificate program to get the MRI certification?
Yes, for MRI. The physics is different and the skill set is a little bit different. What's very similar is the anatomy, the physiology, the pathology, what else? The communication. So those courses are very similar for both programs. So once you're an X-ray technologist, you can take the MRI specific courses. Once you've completed that certificate here at BCIT, then you write another certification exam with our professional body, the CAMRT. So both professions require a certification exam.
I don't see any new questions yet.
Somebody asked about the cost of the program, and I must say I don't actually know it off of the top of my head.
Maggie put in the chart, the link to the chart.
Okay.
Yeah, when you initially click on that, it's very tiny, so you can magnify it out. It's very small otherwise. And it's a term by term payment that you pay. So you don't pay for everything up at once. You pay term by term for the tuition, just as a FYI for everyone.
I have another direct message question. Could you explain a little bit about how the clinical placements are decided? Would it be based on where we live or where is available?
Basically, to be fair to everybody, we tend to do it we used to run a computer program, and so we tend to still have the same principles as we allow our students to provide us with 5 choices where they would like to go. And then we do like a random picking of matching students and sites. There's definitely every term occasions where students are being sent to sites that they weren't on their list. And in some instances, students are being sent out of town when they wanted to stay in town and vice versa. We do have a group of students that come from the interior and wish to go back and do their clinical training in the interior. So we try and make that happen as best we can for everybody. It really depends on the size of the cohort that's going through.
There's another question. How long is the MRI advanced placement program?
I'm just typing that out in the.
Okay.
There we go. I think their link is right there.
Yeah, so I think it has to be completed within 3 years.
Yeah.
But it depends on how quickly you do the online courses.
Yeah, that's a flex learning or part-time studies program, whoever was asking that question. So it's dependent on how many courses you as the student decides to take per term typically. It's how long it will take you to fully complete the program. But the max, as Denise mentioned, is 3 years in duration.
If there's no other questions, I'd like to remind you that the slide deck will be emailed to you as well as a link to the recording. I'd like to thank Denise for her presentation and Maggie for being here from advising, and everybody that took the time to come out and participate in this event. Thank you and have a really good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.